Hello football tribers, welcome back to the channel. 𝐵𝐷𝐾𝐒 is the usual suspect here once again. I hope you had a very wonderful weekend. Personally, I did enjoy mine. I did enjoy that action from Super Sunday. Real Madrid being forced into a 1-1 draw there in the Spanish La Liga, but that's not the point as to why we are here. Manchester City kicked off their title defense in the Premier League with a routine 2-0 victory over Chelsea. The master getting the better of his apprentice in Pep Guardiola versus Enzo Maresca there. But Erling Haaland off to an incredible start, scoring into the back of the net as he seeks to secure his third golden boot in a row. Will he get it? Chances are that he will, given the kind of quality that Manchester City do have. The players that are there to create for him chances, the potential is quite astounding. So he did open the scoring there to give Manchester City the lead, and then Chelsea were punished by their former player in 𝐂𝐿 who scored to double that lead for the visitors and defending champions of the Premier League. Well, both sides did have goals cancelled out for offside and a foul respectively, with Nicholas Jackson being judged to have been offside in the lead up to his goal, while for the sake of Manchester City, proud Erling Haaland was judged to have committed a foul in the lead up to Rico Lewis's scoring. So both goals were cancelled out. Of course, like I did say, it was a routine victory for Manchester City. They didn't really have to sweat out for it. Of course, Chelsea, on the other hand, we all came into this fixture speculating who was going to be in their starting lineup, but it was Robert Sanchez in goal. They did have 𝐕𝐈𝐃𝐸 in that defense. They did have Marco Cucurella in that defense. They had Malo Gusto in that defense. They also had Wesley Fofana in that defense, which is a very good setup, but those players have hardly ever played a game together in terms of setup, in terms of as far as the Premier League is concerned. Then in midfield, they did start with Lavia, who last season was largely injured after being signed from Southampton for £50 million. Then he did play alongside Moises Caicedo, and then ahead of them was Enzo Fernandez. Then on the flanks, they did have Cole Palmer. Then they had Christopher Nkunku, while Nicholas Jackson led the lines. Now, given their performances yesterday, of course, they did remain unconvinced with Nicholas Jackson's performance, who did, by the way, force Ederson Morales into a brilliant save at some point in the game, just as much as Jeremy Doku forced Robert Sanchez into one of the saves of the weekend in that very fixture. So, in the wake of those performances, of course, they are alive to the challenges that they do have Chelsea, but despite spending over £1.2 billion in signings, they are still without an ideal number one striker. And yet, they've signed strikers like McQueen, they've signed, of course, Nicholas Jackson, Christopher Nkunku was brought for the same role. If we were to rewind things a little back, they did have Timo Werner at some point for, the same role, and yet they, in their view, they think all these players have not really clicked. As far as Nicholas Jackson is concerned, he's not as, tremendous as the strikers that Chelsea have had, before, the likes of, Fernando Torres, depending on how you rank his playing career, is nowhere near the ranks of Didier Drogba. So clearly, they do want somewhere in there, and they have their sights on Napoli's Victor Osimhen. However, they have decided to separate the two deals. Napoli have submitted a €30 million deal bid for striker Romelu Lukaku, because he's the number one target for Antonio Conte, because Napoli were, by the way, beaten, I think, by Chievo Verona over the weekend by 3-0. So there's quite a lot of work to do, but it is believed that €30 million may not be enough to cut that deal, but the two sides will continue in negotiation. On the other side, Napoli are desperate to get rid of Victor Osimhen, who is on very high wages that they do not think they can afford in the long run. So that situation is there. So Chelsea, despite signing about 11 players or so, they are still in the market for more signings. João Felix is also probably on the way to Chelsea. Those negotiations with Atletico Madrid are still ongoing, while Conor Gallagher will still be heading in the opposite direction should nothing change further on in the window. In the other game of Super Sunday, Crystal Palace were 2-1 losers against Brentford at the G-Tech Stadium. Brian Mbeumo opening the scoring there for Thomas Frank's side, while Yohan Wissa sealed that victory after Ethan Pinnock had scored into the back of his own net to, restore parity at the time. Of course, they had the contentious decision there, but, contentious decisions in the Premier League are nothing if not expected. So that was the picture from Super Sunday. I hope you do enjoy, continue to enjoy the Premier League. Today there is a fixture that completes match day 1 when Leicester City host Tottenham Hotspurs on Monday Night Football. So do look out for that particular fixture that will be coming your way. However, in the Spanish La Liga, Real Sociedad were beaten by Rayo Vallecano by 2-1. Zubimendi came off the bench to score what turned out to be a mere consolation in that game for Real Sociedad, who could very soon be seeing the departure of Mikel Merino to Arsenal as they look forward to completing what could be reported to be a £30 million deal for the Spanish international, who is in the final year of his contract. And then in the other game, Real Mallorca held Real Madrid to a 1-1 draw in the other fixture on Sunday in the Spanish La Liga. Today in the Spanish La Liga at 10 p.m., Real Valladolid will host Espanyol, while Villarreal will be at home against Atletico Madrid. So do look out for some of those fixtures that will be coming your way. In the Italian Serie A, at 7:30, Lecce is up against Atlanta, while Juventus at 9:45 will be against Cesc Fabregas' Como. Como did sign Rafael Varane there as one of the key players to help the manager, who is also part owner in Francesco Fabregas. Anyways, that's the brief I had for you on this day. That's Monday. Let's see how things progress in the weekend. I'll be keeping you abreast of some of the key transfer news as well as updates that will be coming from your respective teams, not just in the Premier League, but also perhaps a sneak peek into what's happening elsewhere on the transfer scene and some of the key results that you may want to know from the weekend. Otherwise, stay blessed and I wish you a wonderful rest of the week.